following is an exclusive presentation of BYU Athletics in association with BYU Broadcasting. It's time to talk BYU football. You're tuned in to the Coordinators Corner, live from JCW's in Provo, giving you the inside scoop on BYU football from the coaches themselves, JCW's, the Burger Boys. To lead things off, let's head live to your host, the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
Welcome to Coordinators Corner, everyone. Sitting in for Greg Wrubell today, I am Spencer Linton. Greg in Colorado, ready to call the BYU women's soccer match against the 21st-ranked Buffaloes. There is much to discuss in regard to BYU football. The coordinators are here, starting with Elisa Tuiaki, man in charge of coordinating the defense for BYU football, following a 27-0 shutout loss to LSU. Coach, I know it's always tough to come off of a loss, but let's just start with your overall impression of the LSU Tigers and what they brought to the table in the Superdome in New Orleans.
Really good team. Obviously everybody could see that when they're watching. I think that the really good team, well coached, and at least on the offensive side, I thought that their schemes were good. It challenged us in every way as far as the run, with the fly sweep and run downhill with a really good running back, as well as good. I mean, their personnel was good, and so impressed by them. And I talking to my wife last night, I wouldn't be surprised if you find those guys in the playoffs. I mean, they're really good.
Well, that high level of talent.
I think so.
And it's not like you haven't coached against that level of talent. You and I were talking before the show started. You've seen SEC speed like that with Auburn while you were at Utah State, so this is not something new.
Yeah, I mean, you play different teams from the Big 12, from the Big 10, and I can't remember if I played anybody in the ACC, but definitely in the SEC. And I just overall from top to bottom, mistake-free on offense, really tough scheme to cover, but also the personnel was good.
Now it's hard not for fans because that's what fans do. They overreact. They knee-jerk react. But now that you've had a weekend to think about it and watch the film, and your defense was on the field for 42 minutes against a very well-coached offense with high-level athletes, what did you think about the defensive performance? I'm sure I was like everybody else, overreacting in the middle of the game and after the game. And so when we got back home, we got back at 4 a.m. on Sunday. I wanted to just go to church and just relax and kind of take my mind off of it and kind of get things back in perspective. And after church I got back home and just hung out with my family for a little bit, and then I shot a text message to all the defense and just reminded all of them to keep a good balance in their lives, to go to church and be a good husband, good father, good brother, just like Kalani Sitake wants us to, and we'd come back and make the corrections as we needed to. And so after that, I basically watched the film late at night, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. There was a lot of good things, a lot of things to improve. Just looking at us, I think there's a lot to improve, but also there's a lot of credit to give on the other side. I mean, it was a really good team and good scheme. Great. Their offense coordinator called a great game, and so there's a lot to take away from it. But we just have to improve what we can improve. And technically, we talked to them this morning, the players. There were times where we felt like guys were kind of reaching out of their element, trying to make a play that we weren't asking them to make. And so it was really about them trusting each other, especially when things get hard. You as a good player, you start to feel like you're the only player that can make plays out there, right? Well, you look to the right, look to the left, and trust the guy next to you and just know, hey, you're a baller. Well, he's a baller too, And so let him do his job, you do your job. And so that was kind of focus today, and going back and just correcting just technical things. As we talked as a staff before we spoke with the kids, it was really, there wasn't very much scheme that we were correcting. It was more just technical things and maybe a couple of personnel changes that we could have done to help out. But other than that, it was just tightening things up and rewarding that, or just at least complimenting them for the effort that they put in. And they played hard. The kids played hard. In football games where there's a lot of emotional, sways and changes, it never really happened. The offense kind of stalled a little bit, and we never made anything happen on defense. We never created any takeaways, but also,
the level of emotional play that they played at was really, really high. And so we complimented for them for that and look forward for this week.
Defensive coordinator Elisa Tuiaki with us on Coordinators Corner. Glad to have everyone listening in on BYU Radio, Sirius XM Channel 143, also watching on the BYU Football Facebook page, and among another myriad of options to soak all of this in. What is the feeling like in the team room right now? Because Kalani Sitake said, well, after the Portland State game, I had to remind the guys that they won the game. Coming off a 27-0 loss, now that you've had a chance to sit with them, what's the overall atmosphere and feeling for the team right now going into the Utah game?
I think they're doing fine. Kalani always does a really good job with keeping things in perspective. You know, the truth is we got beat. We got beat by a really good team. There's a lot for us to improve, and there's things that we go back and look at that, you know, we could have and we should have done better if we would have just, you know, stayed with the game plan. And so I think everyone's okay. You know. Licking their wounds and moving along, and as soon as we put that film to rest, I mean, practice today was really good. It was kind of up, and at least on the defensive side, guys were running to the ball. Leaders were kind of yelling at everybody getting to the ball, and so they're ready to take the next step and you know, make the improvements that we need to make.
Ed Orgeron was very complimentary of the BYU defense. He also spoke. I should say Darius Geis, one of the Heisman Trophy candidates, spoke specifically on social media about BYU making them earn everything that LSU got. What was your impression from the opposing coaches when you spoke with them after the game and had exchanged words there?
You know, they gave us a lot of credit, which we appreciate. You know, and you know, like the same thing that we're doing, I think we're giving them a lot of credit, which they are a good team, and it's nice, it's validating to get that kind of compliment, but at the same time we still did lose, and there's a lot of things for us to improve. And so I think you just kind of take it, and you know, it kind of helps you lick your wounds a little bit, but move forward.
Where would you start your concerns in terms of, okay, to get ready for Utah, I've seen 2 games worth of footage. Defensively, what's number one concern for you in terms of getting better for Utah?
Well, we just gotta tighten up with all the technique things, but you know, we lose Micah Hanneman for the first half on that targeting that he had, which you know, the next guy stepping up. So Marvin Hefel ended up stepping up and playing. Tanner Jacobson was already, you know, he already had a role and was playing and stepping in. And so, you know, we had two kids that were basically walk-ons that are out there making tackles and doing a really good job. And you know, I think that's one thing that Galani you know, prides himself in as a head coach is, you know, you can't really tell the difference between a walk-on and a scholarship kid, and we try to play the best players, and those kids have definitely, you know, come on and contributed to the team in a really, really good way. So, but I think concern-wise, just making sure that we'll be ready with the next guys that step up, you know, at the backer spot, at the safety spot, and right now with Micah sitting out for the first half, we got to make sure that we've got guys that are ready to play.
How's the overall health of the defense thus far?
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. I thought we came out of it pretty healthy. You know, we went into it a little banged up with Butch and Matt Hadley. You know, kind of they didn't practice for 2 days. They were just struggling through some things, but they played hard, and I think that they played the whole game. They're coming back, and so I think we'll be all right for this week.
All right, we'll take a short break. Coming back with more from Coordinators Corner at JCW's, the Burger Boys in Provo, Utah. If you want the ins and outs of what's happening with the BYU defense and offense, this is the place to be. Stay with us on BYU Radio and the BYU Football Facebook page. Coordinators Corner continues after this.
Hey, Dave, could you pour me some of that?
Sure, no problem.
Okay.
BYU Sports Network. Let's head back to JCW's in Provo and the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
Sitting in for Greg Wrubell, I am Spencer Linton. This is Coordinators Corner live in Provo, Utah. We are sitting down with the defensive coordinator for BYU football, Elisa Tuiaki. We have addressed the LSU game. Now, obviously, attention can turn to the team up north in Salt Lake City, the University of Utah. I don't know if you know this, Coach, but BYU is trying to break this streak against them. Maybe somebody has reminded you of that. How much do you know about Utah football at this point as far as their 2017 squad goes?
About them, their personnel.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of kids that I recruited that have already graduated. I think the last few classes that I've helped recruit are seniors now, and so the team really looks new on the offensive side, especially. I mean, I don't really know any of those kids except for the left guard and left tackle. About it, and so it's really, I'm ready to get after it.
You watch the LSU film. At what point do you turn the page and say, okay, we're trying to learn from the LSU game and the Portland State games, but we also have to focus on Utah. So when do you start to focus all of your attention on the Utah film specifically? That
happened right after our first meeting where we put the LSU game to bed. Our practice basically goes in, and we're practicing a lot of the base stuff that we see against Utah and against our base stuff, and getting the kids to run around and make calls and checks and all that stuff. And so we've already moved on and we're ready to go.
The defensive line had some question marks coming into the season because they were unknowns. Sione Takitaki coming back after a year off. Now the implementation of a beast in Kairos Tonga, who is a true freshman and who made some good plays against the likes of LSU. And now Corbin Kafusi had 8 tackles on Saturday night against the Tigers. How would you assess the play of the defensive line specifically where you specialize?
Good. I mean, they're coming along. They're a lot more stout. And then they played hard. They played stout. There's obviously there's some times and some things that we can improve, but the overall feeling is that we've got a good group and we've got a deep group, And so with the D tackles, we go basically 3 deep, which is 6 different D tackles that play. And then with the ends, we can go 6 deep, but those guys don't need as much rest, just because the guys in the interior are taking up all that force, all that energy that they're wasting. So we got to keep those guys fresh throughout the game. But D ends, and we go into a 2 deep, and we feel comfortable with actually 6 D ends right now getting in the game.
What kind of challenges will Utah's offense present to BYU's defense this year? Dual threat quarterback Tyler Huntley, he's a true freshman, but looked pretty good against North Dakota. So what's the game plan against Utah?
It's they're a different challenge from LSU. Obviously, LSU, that big physical run game and being able to stop the run. I think these guys they're going to try to run the ball as well. Give the quarterback easy throws as well as that. But just covering space is probably the bigger thing with all the different formations they do, the speed at receiver. They've got a lot of kids that can run. Just making sure that we can cover all the space that way.
How much of a difference does it make to host a rivalry game in your venue? BYU played at Utah last year, 20-19, very hardly contested game. Now you're coming back to Provo and hosting Utah for the first time as a new staff. How much of a difference does that make?
I don't know. I've never really thought about that. I think playing at your home venue any week against anybody is always a plus because of the energy in the stadium, the rock and just it's a different deal. Our stadium's awesome to play in, and it's a really good venue. And so, obviously, with the rivalry week and having Utah, I've been in this situation, but on the other side, right? I've come and played at LaVell Edwards Stadium while I was working up there, and so I know it's an intense atmosphere, and it's going to be nice to have the crowd behind us this week.
Your cornerbacks will face off against one of the premier wide receivers in the game, Darren Carrington, a transfer from the University of Oregon. Is this something that they haven't seen before? Because it seems like with West Virginia last year and Toledo last year and now Utah this year and even LSU, like at this point, there's the athleticism is what it is. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's fast. Everyone's fast. Everyone's tall. Everyone can catch, and so. They just we've got corners that we feel good about. Gave up a couple of big plays on some play action stuff where guys were just had their eyes in the wrong spot and technique was bad. But as far as matching up athleticism, I think that we got guys that can run, and just like last week, we'll have to be really aggressive with the schemes that we put in, and really force the quarterback to beat us.
What kind of a pace of play do you expect between BYU and Utah on Saturday?
I think they're going to be no huddle fast, but if you start getting a lot of quick 3 and outs on the offensive side, and I'm just talking to them, you got to start, and we can sustain some drives. You got to start to question whether or not they're going to start to slow things down, and a lot of check with me's back to the sideline just to slow the game down. And so I think they've got the capability to go both fast and slow, but that'll really just depend on how the game's going.
How is this week for you emotionally, given your ties to both programs and, the ribbing and fun that the fans have? What's it like for you as the defensive coordinator?
I don't really follow too much of the social media stuff going on, so I don't really know that part. But, if I had to fight my brother this week, we'd line up and fight. And he'd get everything that I have. Like, I'd give him my best shot. And that's just the way that I am. And it doesn't bother me one bit, not one bit. And so, I don't look at it at all as far as, know some of the coaches over there and all that. But we'll come shake hands at the beginning, and they're going to get our best shot. And it's going to be a bloody fight, and I hope it is.
Okay, BYU and Utah on Saturday night, 10:15 Eastern Time, 8:15 Mountain on ESPN2. We're with defensive coordinator Elisa Tuiaki. Coach, where do you feel like the strength of your defense is right now through 2 games? And I know it's hard to assess after 2 games, but if you had to give an A to any one thing, what would it be?
Oh, man. I think overall there's a lot of good play, in all phases with the secondary, the backers, and as well as the D-line. And there's also just a lot of improvements to make it in all phases. So I don't know if I can put a finger on just one aspect of the game that we're making. The first week the corners never really tested, and this week they were tested in a different way. They had to come up and tackle, and we just weren't as good as we should have been. And the D-line, thought they did a pretty good job the first week, and decent job this week, but not good enough. And so I don't know. I don't know where our strength is right now. I think the strength is just them as a unit, kind of playing together and believing in each other and playing with technique.
It's always hard to get guys to sometimes 100% trust their reads. But when they do that, they seem to, the majority of the time, make good plays.
Yeah.
So how do you get those guys to just, you're making the right read, just go?
Yeah, just practice. A lot of it comes with experience. You see a lot of the veteran guys doing it the right way, and some of the younger kids kind of second-guessing what they're seeing. And so the coaching point is just to trust what you see and play. And I think just the more experience they get, the better they will be.
All right, Elisa Tuiaki, the defensive coordinator, with us on Coordinators Corner. We'll take another break from JCW's in Provo, Utah, home of the Burger Boys. Come back for more BYU football in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Ned Siegfried. It's great to see the Cougars back in action. We all know that
JCW's in Provo. This is the Coordinators Corner on the new skin BYU Sports Network. Now let's rejoin the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
In for Greg Wrubell, I am Spencer Linton. You are listening to and or watching Coordinators Corner. We are talking with BYU Defensive Coordinator Ilaisa Tuiaki. We invite all of you to join the conversation using the hashtag CCBYU if you would like to ask questions to Coach Tuiaki or Coach Detmer coming up in just a bit. Coach, I did see one question on social media over the break that I'm sure a lot of people are interested in, and that is, how do you address something like the targeting penalty with Micah Hanneman? Because it's an unfortunate twist, but how do you deal with that from a coaching standpoint?
You know, just continue to coach that they've got to make sure that their eyes are up when they strike. I mean, the truth is you could call it targeting, you know, and that's a tough situation to do it. But you know, we just got to continue to coach those guys to face up when they tackle and let them know if you leave it in the ref's hands, then you know you're leaving it up to chance.
How much of an impact will that make on your secondary in the first half, if at all, against Utah?
Well, I mean, like I said, the next guy's got to step up, and we feel comfortable with the other guys stepping up. Like Marvin came in and had 10 tackles, and you know, Tanner does a good job, but also Austin Lee, who transferred from Utah, is with us now, is healthy now, and so we're planning on him coming in and having a part in the game. Marvin
Hefo with 10 tackles. Is this something that we should be surprised about, or did you kind of get the impression that he's going to make this kind of impact?
He's a solid tackler. The fact that a DB is leading in tackles is not a good thing. But I mean, he's a solid tackler, does a really good job, and so you know, we trust that he comes in and does his part and does a really good job.
Now, you want your leading tackler, just based on how the defense is designed, generally to be the middle linebacker, which is Butch Pau. How would you assess Butch's performance after he sat out against Portland State and then got back into the swing of things against LSU?
Yeah, you know, he still wasn't 100% and still banged up, and you can kind of see it when you're watching him. He's not as fast or doesn't change direction as well. But you know, one of the things that you don't really take into consideration is when you're not practicing, you're not going to be as good. You know, no matter who you are, you have to practice and you have to see certain looks, and your body has to move a certain way, and everything's got to be in sync. And just you know, missing a couple of days of practice, you can tell kind of shows up. And I mean, he's still physical and still does a really good job, and he's a guy that plays with no fear. But you know, having him back full this week and practicing and all that's going to be huge for us.
This in using the hashtag CCBYU. Some guy named at Jerem Jordan asks, does Coach Tuiaki want any chicken fingers or fries?
It doesn't have any bones in it? What kind of meal is that?
Fair enough. We'll say that's a no there. Secondly, I'm trying to transition out of that one, and I'm not sure how to do it.
I was sitting here kind of eyeballing that mint chocolate chip though. That looks really good.
Okay, all right. Get the man a shake. He deserves it. After 2 games, I know that because of the fan base reaction on social media, and because of social media in general, it kind of feels like the sky is falling. How would you address the BYU fan base after you've seen what you have seen? And you're in it. You know things that they don't know. It's your life. It's your job. How would you address the fan base after 2 games?
You know, all hope is not lost. Just be patient. You know, trust in the coaches. Trust in you know, Coach Itaka as well as Ty, and those guys will do a good job getting things back where they need to be. But also, we played a really good team. You know, and so. Make the adjustments we need to make and move forward. You know, I think at one point last year we were 1-3, you know, and so we were a little bit tighter, closer into those games, but we were still 1-3, and so we ended up 9-4 at the end of the year. Just you lose a game, you kind of press forward and keep moving along, keep going.
This team is very quick to say, look, there is no division between the offense and defense. Yes, the defense is on the field for 42 minutes. Yes, the offense did not play well, and they're certainly trying to figure some things out. How do you avoid that separation that sometimes can creep into some locker rooms?
You know, I think it all starts up top, and Galani gets a lot of the credit. I mean, the way that he preaches and the way that you know, the brotherhood is taught in the locker room, as well as just the way that he wants the coaches to do it, is, I think, is genuine and real. I mean, if you're really a family, right, then you're not going to sit here and pointing fingers and about things that other people can do. You kind of talk about it, you address it. I mean, we're not completely just avoiding it, right? I mean, we sit down and address it and address the needs that we need to make, as well as knowing that at the end of the day we're going to stick together, and no matter what it takes, we're going to get this thing moving.
Football is very much a week-to-week process. So let's say best case scenario, BYU ends the losing streak. They beat Utah on Saturday. At what, where does LSU factor into your mind at that point after the Utah game? Is it just a thing of the past?
I think it's the thing of the past already. It has to be, because we have to move forward. And we win this game, then we'll enjoy it that night, and then the next day we got to move forward and we got to get ready for the next opponent, and that's just the way that it is. And I think the coaches and the kids are kind of tuned into that, and in order to be successful, you can't wallow too long, but you can't celebrate too long. You just got to stay steady and try to avoid the peaks and valleys, and just kind of stay steady throughout the whole process.
No question, Kalani is a very approachable, even-keel personality. I saw him in a way that I have not seen him after a football game since he took over as the head coach of BYU, which was legitimately frustrated. Used words like inept and we've got to figure things out. How do you approach your head coach and your friend when you see him in that mindset? What do you do?
I think a lot of times just giving an ear, just let him kind of vent a little bit, and give some suggestions as far as he's got Coach Lamb, Ty Detmer, myself, and a lot of other good experienced guys, but just give him an ear as well as give him a little bit of advice, and let him know that we trust him still. He's still our head coach, and because of our faith and our belief, we still believe that he's entitled to get the feelings and ask God with what's best for our team, and kind of wrestle it out in his own mind and take our suggestions and do what he believes is right. And at the end of the day, we've got his back. Yeah,
well, to be completely frank, the idea of a salty Kalani Sitake seems like an exciting thing for BYU football fans. And he got really animated against Utah last year, and that meant a lot.
He doesn't like to lose. He doesn't like to lose, and everything that he does is genuine, and he means well. Even when he gets pissed off at myself or at Ty or anybody, it's legitimate. And when he does get pissed off at me, he's normally right. And so we're just address it and stick together as a family. It's just like brothers fighting or brothers arguing, or at the end of it, we know we'll get whatever's on our chest off and address it and move forward.
I know you're your own toughest critic. Do you feel like you have gotten better through 2 weeks into season number 2?
I think so. I also think that Coach Lamb, doesn't get enough credit for what he adds to this defense. I mean, brilliant mind, really, really good coach, and great assistant head coach too. I mean, it's just, I think that balance with him being on defense as well as helping out Kalani is really good. And so, a lot of credit has to go to those guys.
All right. Hashtag CCBYU to send in your questions, Coordinators Corner. Coach Tuiaki, thanks for the time. Get this man some chicken wings, but with bones inside them, right? I
have bones, man. I got to have some crunchy, and
he's earned it. He deserves it. Coach, thanks for the time.
Talking about crunching bones and then drinking chocolate milkshake, oxymoron.
Good luck against Utah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, coming up on Coordinators Corner, the offensive guru, Ty Detmer, will join us. Hey, you can say it. People want to see your face for just a few more seconds, Coach. Ty Detmer will join us on Coordinators Corner. We're coming back to JCW's right after this.
For over 100 years.
imaging and all that stuff. We're on track. Okay.
Late night games are hard because Sundays
you
BYU start up again.
Yeah. Let's head back to JCW's in Provo and the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
In for Greg Wrubell, Spencer Linton here at Coordinators Corner at JCW's in Provo, Utah. We now welcome the offensive coordinator of BYU football, Ty Detmer, in with us to talk about the BYU LSU game and get ready for the University of Utah. Coach, you joked during the break that there might be some questions from some fans and from people that are interested in BYU football. So let's start with this question. After a game like that, you obviously don't prepare and plan for something like that, and things just kind of tailspin. What do you do? Where do you pick your quarterback up and start to go to work?
Well, I think that's what you have to do is not overreact to it, and all of a sudden the players can't get up for the next game, because they take it hard. They put a lot of work in, as the coaches do, and so you got to be able in sports to let it go. And we always tell them, let the last play go and focus on the next one. And so we got to let the last game go and focus on the next one. And fortunately, it's Utah, where guys are excited about that, and we'll be ready to go. So you look at the film, you correct mistakes, and you find out, kind of who's where and what we can do better, and then try to make those adjustments.
How much of what happened on Saturday night should be attributed to the fact that LSU is just a really good football team and BYU's offense didn't execute at a high level?
They are a really good team, but that's not the expectations we have, to go out there and be held under 100 yards of offense and, minimal plays run. Those aren't our expectations, and so that's disappointing when we're not able to execute. And you watch the film, and there's plays there, there's plays to be had, and we're young at our skill positions. We're not the most experienced team, and so in an environment like that, when it starts going south, we got to be mentally strong enough to find the right guys to go in there and somebody to make a play and to spark us. And right now we don't have a lot of that, so we gotta have our leaders step up. We as coaches got to prepare them better and have more answers for them if that's the case. But maybe simplify it a little more so that they don't have to think as much. So all those thoughts go through your head as a coach and a coordinator, like how can we help them just play and use their ability, but at the same time help them to get open and to use their ability. So there's that fine line between too much and not enough, and paralysis by analysis, or being too simple, and we got to be able to beat people and help scheme. So all those thoughts go through your head all the way home, and then all Sunday and now this morning it's okay, we put it to bed, we watch the film, we're on to Utah, and it has to be that way.
How do you decompress after a situation like Saturday night?
It's tough because you don't have much time. We get home at 4:30 in the morning and sleep in, go to church, and then you're back to watching Utah film and start getting ready. So there's no rest or kind of get away from things. It's right back at it, and that's the biggest thing being in college football, is it's a quick turnover, and you don't have time to decompress. You have enough time to figure out what you did wrong and how we can get better and maybe give our players a better chance.
This question in #CCBYU, how would you assess the play of Tanner Mangum through 2 weeks, and where do you start your coaching with him?
So he's done some really good things. I think, handling the pressure, the focus was getting it out quick, and I probably overcoached that, where it was get it out quick all week. But he went through his progressions a little too quick. We had some guys open at times that we just kind of didn't give them a chance and bypassed on to the next guy. And so that falls on me, is over, accentuating the fact that we're not going to be able to hold the ball against their pass rush. And so just got to calm him down and just relax in there a little more and give things a chance. And he sees that on film and knows that, he can be better that way, but I can be a better coach that way as well, and just calming down in some of those situations. So, I think you'll see him continue to improve. He's in a new offense, playing it for the first time, really. And so I think overall he's playing pretty well. He's throwing the ball accurately and getting it out on time last week, sometimes just a little too early.
He was very hard on himself post-game during our BYU TV Sports post-game wrap-up interview with Dave McCann, saying, I made a lot of inaccurate throws. He's pointing fingers at himself. What do you do for his confidence level going into the Utah game?
Well, I think just keep him seeing that he's doing some good things too. You want a guy that's going to be hard on themselves. That's who you want being the leader of your team, taking it on their shoulders and feeling like they can do much better. If every guy treats it that way and works harder and more self-conscious and feels like they can do better and are going to work at it, then we'll be all right. So that's what you want. And then our job as coaches to give them confidence that these things are going to be open, they're going to work, just give it some time to let it happen. So that's what you want in a quarterback. You want a guy that takes ownership of it and will work at it, and I know he will.
Kalani Sitake said you're going to reevaluate how you approach the running back situation, whether it be a group of guys or you just find one and you stick to it. What are your plans for the running backs?
Just keep giving those guys an opportunity. We've got to find people that'll put their foot in the ground, and when it's tough yards, will get tough yards for us, and that's really what we're looking for out of that group from somebody. Jamal, we don't have Jamal. He covered up some of those things last year by making people miss in the hole, and we haven't had that yet. Last week was a hard evaluation. I think we only ran the ball 10 times, and so it's hard for a back to get in rhythm and to get into a flow, and so that's what we're looking for out of that group, is somebody to emerge and be a guy that can get the hard yards and put his foot in the ground and go get 4 when when it's blocked for 2, let's go get 4.
What's the health status like of your running backs group right now?
I think pretty good. KJ Hall hurt his elbow, so we'll kind of see where he's at. I think he had an MRI this morning, and we'll know more later this afternoon. But everybody else, I think Ula's finally getting close to 100%, and so you should expect to see a little bit more of him. And everybody else, I think, is fine. Came out of it healthy. We only had 38 plays, so the chance of somebody getting hurt is minimal.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. 38 plays. The thing is, you almost have to laugh about a situation like that to keep from going crazy, do you not?
Well, I mean, we're not laughing about it. We know we got a ton of work to do, but at the same time, we didn't put enough drives together or first downs to give our defense a rest. So, in turn, they held the ball a long time, and then we're back at it. I think we had 2 series and then a 2-minute drill, and the first half was all we had. And so it's hard to get into a rhythm and get a feel for the defense, and you're out there and then you're 3 and out, and it just compounds the fact that you're not in a rhythm, because it's hard to stay out there on a field and get a drive going and get to know the defense. So we've got to be better at and that was one of our negatives of the game, talking to the offensive side of the ball, was we got to put ourselves in third and manageable for one, and then we can't go 3 and out and put our defense right back out there like we did.
All right, Ty Detmer, the offensive coordinator, here with us at JCW's in Provo, Utah. Coordinators Corner will continue right after this short break, including his assessment of the offensive line and how they did pass protect against that powerful front of LSU. Stay with us. We're coming back with more.
Picture this. You have a big change coming up in your life.
JCW's in Provo. This is the Coordinators Corner on the new skin BYU Sports Network. Now let's rejoin the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
Sitting in for Greg Wrubell, I am Spencer Linton. Greg, getting ready to call the Colorado BYU women's soccer match immediately following our edition of Coordinators Corner. You can listen to that game live, 3 Eastern, 1 Mountain Time. We're with offensive coordinator Ty Detmer from BYU Football, talking about LSU and BYU, and now planning ahead for the rivalry showdown against the University of Utah. Coach, I brought up the offensive line and pass protection specifically against LSU before we went to break. From my perspective and from what I've seen, it seemed like they held their own against a very good defensive front. What did you see from the film?
Yeah, I thought we protected pretty well. We got a few little things to clean up there. But overall, we didn't. I think we gave up 2 sacks and kind of where we were at later in the game where they knew we had to start throwing it. They pinned their ears back a little bit. But overall, I thought our protection was pretty good. Tanner's part of that by getting it out quick. And so, I thought we held up with their speed and size up front pretty well. So happy about that group. And, there's still work to be done, and we got to be cleaner in the run game. But overall, pass protection-wise, we held up pretty good.
Hashtag CCBYU to ask questions to Ty Detmer. And on that hashtag, several people wanting to know the status of Riley Burt and where he factors into the running back group.
Yeah, so, Riley through fall camp was kind of down the line a little bit, just, getting a feel for the different types of runs and things. And so, he's a guy that we kind of feel like needs a little more time, a little more seasoning before you put him in a game and try to, run him downhill, those types of things. So he's, we don't feel like he's ready yet to be that back that can go get the tough yards that we need inside against good teams like that. But he's also a guy we're bringing along and trying to keep ready, giving him a few reps here in practice that he can continue to work. And at this point in the season, it's tough to get guys reps because you're game planning and you only get so many reps a week at certain plays that he's getting a few here and there, but it's going to be on him to really kind of continue to improve and get a lot of mental reps, and then there may come a time with some injuries and things that he turns into the guy.
Ula Tolutau is another guy that's come up quite a bit, and he's been banged up early in the season. How close to 100% is Ula?
I think he's close. He was ready to go this week, this last week, and just the way the game kind of went, we ended up, not playing him much, if any at all, on the offensive side. So that gives him an extra week to really feel good about where he's at, and legs healed up, and I think he'll be 100% going forward.
Ty Detmer with us, offensive coordinator for BYU Football. Where do you begin your attack against the University of Utah and their defense? And how similar are they to a team like LSU?
Yeah, they're pretty similar. You're going to see man coverage. You're going to see a little bit of a mix of cover 2, cover 3. But they play physical. They play fast. And that's the way they've been built. They've been a really good defense for a number of years now, and they're tough up front. They got speed in the secondary. And so I'm hoping that experience with LSU helps us, now understand the speed of the game that's going to happen, and we're able to go in and play fast, and things aren't happening too fast for us. So I think that was a great experience to have for us. Hopefully the intensity in practice this week will be ramped up, and we'll have a really good week of work and come out sharp and ready to go.
At what point in your football career at BYU did the game start to proverbially slow down for you as a quarterback?
I got to play, quite a bit as a freshman, more backup type of duty. I started one game, and then my sophomore year, about halfway through that season, things kind of slowed down for me a little bit and kind of felt really comfortable with the offense. So it takes some time. It takes reps and seeing, we're seeing things for the first time. Tanner is, certain plays against a certain coverage for the first time. And so that process is happening in his head, and sometimes too quick, and we're jumping progression, 1 to 3 sometimes. And so it's not an overnight where you just go in and you got it. So he's learning it on the fly and against really good teams. So, for me, I got to play in the WAC, and you're playing New Mexico and some of those schools where it was a little slower game. And then, of course, my junior year, we started off with Miami, and I'd already had a season and a half of experience. So that made a big difference playing a team like that, where you go play LSU, your second start, after sitting a year in a new offense, is not the most favorable situation.
Yeah, certainly so. With Tanner, I mean, is it pretty typical for a quarterback at this level, 6 to 8 games before things really start to click? And what's the window you're looking for?
Well, I think with his experience as a freshman, that helps speed up the process. So I expect to see him just play better and better each week, and he hasn't been playing bad. So I know the expectations were through the roof for the guy, which isn't really fair. And so we got to temper that a little bit and let him get into the flow of the game and start seeing it and understanding it, and then things start happening naturally for you. Right now it's still kind of processing in his brain, and he's looking here to here to here instead of feeling it a little bit more. So that'll start happening, and he'll just continue to improve. But it's, I think it'll speed up because he's had the experience he's had as a freshman.
All right, this then for hashtag CCBYU. Jerem Jordan asking you, Ty Detmer, if he can call a play on your headset this season in your voice.
No. We got enough problems with me calling them in my voice, let alone Jerem Jordan calling one. Although, who knows? It may work. We might be getting to the point where we'll try anything, Jerem.
Okay. Oh, that is too funny. Let's stay on those lines. Has his impression of you gotten better or worse as time has gone on?
Honestly, I haven't heard it since last spring, so I don't tune into much media or social media stuff right now.
You're not watching every show that we do, Coach?
I would love to, but time's a little limited, so I haven't set the recording deal yet either. So
all right, well, we'll talk to your family and see if we can help you out with that. Coach, with Utah and what they're going to try and do defensively up front, where do you feel like the strength of their defense is, and where you feel like you really need to hunker down against the Utes?
Well, it's they're going to pack the box and load up to stop the run. That's kind of where every defense starts. If you talk to any defensive coordinators, we got to stop the run first, and so I expect to see 8 in the box, 7 in the box, a lot of safeties down in there to stop the run first. So we've got to make plays in the passing game. We've got to be tight on our run blocks, and we're going to have to throw it to win it. We're going to have to run it also. So the plan won't really change for us a whole lot. We still want to keep the defense fresh, keep them off the field, and put some drives together that end in points. So. But at the same time, we've got to go out and make some big plays within that game to have a chance to win.
All right, we're coming back with some more questions for the offensive coordinator, Ty Detmer. This is Coordinator Corner at JCW's in Provo, Utah. Sitting in for Greg Wrubell, I am Spencer Linton. Do not go anywhere.
Hi, I'm Ned Siegfried.
JCW's in Provo and the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
Spencer Linton in for Greg Wrubell. This is Coordinators Corner live on the BYU Football Facebook page and on BYU Radio Sirius XM Channel 143. We are with Ty Detmer, 1990 Heisman Trophy winner and current BYU offensive coordinator. Coach, the speed of the game is something that is talked about a lot, and no matter how many reps you go through in fall camp and how many different practices you run, until you get in an actual game, it's hard to simulate what that is actually like. So how much do you take into consideration, given that fact, about the struggles that your team has dealt with this year?
Well, I don't think you put a lot into it. I mean, we've played a couple games now, and, we should be further along and, not limited like we were last Saturday against anyone. So that was the downside of everything. But it helps to have game time and game experience, and you're seeing a different defense every week, a different type of scheme, and you've got to make those adjustments. So that happens with game experience and guys kind of sorting it out on the run. So the game experience definitely helps, but we're kind of to a point now where there's no excuses. We got to go out and execute and put our guys in position to be successful.
Other than running back, do you feel like you know who you want to put on the field right now?
Man, we're searching for everybody. We're trying to give everybody an opportunity and find guys that are gamers. That at the end of the day, you got to be able to be a gamer and step up and make plays in a game. And I felt Micah Simon kind of showed us something last week. Broke a couple tackles. The game didn't seem too fast for him. We've got to get some of the other guys to have a similar type of experience all at the same time. It can't be one guy a week. It's got to be, okay, that guy needs to play more. This guy needs to play more. So we're starting to get a handle on who maybe should be in for certain things. And then, then you'll worry about tendencies after that. But right now we got to find the right combinations for the right type of plays and the right type of routes and then get them in the game for those.
What's the atmosphere like in the offensive playroom right now with the coaches? What's the feeling like?
Well, there's obviously concern. We've all played here or been a part of BYU, and we know what the expectations are, and we know that we're falling short right now, leaving our defense on the field as long as we did. It's kind of all ideas are up, but at the same time, we don't want to put a new offense together each week that our players don't know. You're only as good as what your players know. So we've got to kind of sit down and make sure that we're giving our guys a chance to play fast and not think and do too much. If that means narrow the package, then narrow the package. If that means, try to spread people out a little more and create more space for them, then we'll do that. So it's kind of a think tank in there right now a little bit without overthinking things too much. LSU's a really good football team. I mean, they're one of the top teams in the country, and we didn't play to our expectations, but that's a really good football team we win against. So you don't want to hit the panic button. We were in a similar situation after UCLA last year where, man, it was kind of ugly and we weren't doing great, and then all of a sudden things started going and we started scoring points and winning games. And so we just got to kind of rely on that a little bit. Some of those experiences we've all had, either playing or coaching, and get back to doing what we feel like we're the best at and give our players a chance.
You mentioned Micah Simon as a guy that showed you some things. Were there any others that stood out to you offensively through the first 2 weeks so you feel like, okay, you're showing me some things?
Yeah, I think certain guys in certain situations, we're starting to figure out that this is their skill set. Maybe this is what they're best at. The other things, maybe not so good, so we've got other guys that maybe can do that. So I think Matt Bushman's done a great job at the tight end position. Our backs got to get going. We got to find somebody that can break tackles. And then, Tanner's got to keep improving and keep staying in there and just going through the progression. And so I think we've got guys in some situations that we're starting to figure out that this is what they're best at, and now we've got to put them there and give them those opportunities. And as a coach, you call it and you hope they make the play. You hope it works out like it's drawn up, and you hope that those guys step up and become the players you think they are.
How many times on Saturday night did you find yourself in a situation like that where you call the right play, it opens up like you hope it will, and then it's just not executed?
There were a few times. There were a few of those. When you go back and watch the film, it's like, oh, man, we had opportunities. There were – and we may not have gone out and scored 60 points, but there were opportunities to keep drives alive and to keep our defense off the field, and then maybe it turns into a dogfight and we're in the game. So those are the opportunities as a coach you look at and you're just like, man, you're scratching your head like we're that close to having opportunities, and we got to start making some plays, whether it's a guy gets hit on protection, we get one of the sacks, we got a guy running wide open that we can't get it to. And so it's a combination of a guy here, and we just got to put it all together and start playing.
The competitor, Ty Detmer, good luck against Utah this week, Coach. We appreciate the insight. Not many people show up and do this and have to put up with this. So
it's all good. That's part of it.
Bravo to you. Get the man some food, a shake or whatever before he gets out of here. And, in all sincerity, best of luck against Utah.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, this has been Coordinators Corner from JCW's in Provo, Utah. Remember, stay with us on BYU Radio. Greg Wrubell is ready to call the BYU Colorado women's soccer match right now from Boulder. The ladies looking for win number 1 on the season. We'll have much more on Super Tuesday on BYU TV's coverage with BYU football. For Ty Detmer, Elisa Tuyaki, I am Spencer Linton, and not to mention every fantastic member of the crew here today. Hashtag CCBYU. You can join us anytime on Coordinators Corner. That'll do it for us from JCW. See you next time.